Welcome to another edition of Commission Conversations. I'm the Executive Director of Film Florida, John Lux, and today my guest is Marty Lewis from the St. Augustine Film Office. Thanks for joining us today, Marty.
Thanks for doing this. I appreciate it. I'm sure we all do. Coming out of this crazy time we're in, we'd love to get as much publicity as we can. So
Well,
thanks very much, John.
speaking of the crazy time, take a minute and just talk to us about the status of everything, film and outside related for the coronavirus up in St. Johns County.
Well, this is the time when they have opened up things again in phase one, as they're calling it right now. Restaurants are starting to serve people again. Some are elected to remain closed. Some hotels are having rooms available. So slowly we are peeling away the layers, and let's just hope everything is wonderful and safe and sound. But right now we don't have any really restrictions on people filming here. So come on down. But it's bizarre. It's unprecedented, and we are working our way through it, as is the entire world.
Well, Marty, I mean, we obviously know full well the historic significance of St. Augustine. So outside of the film side, just give people who aren't as familiar with St. Augustine a little bit of the history of the city.
Okay, it's really kind of cool. As a matter of fact, it's interesting because I was a history major, but I was a history major in Texas, and we don't teach anything but Texas history. So when my wife, who's a film makeup artist, was sent on a Florida tourism job many years ago now, probably about 30 years ago, she was brought into St. Augustine for part of the filming. She saw the beaches, the historic buildings, the beautiful architecture, and she called back to Miami and said, "Marty, you got to see this little town." And back then the slogan was 42 miles of beaches and the rest is history. Well, I have appropriated that slogan and resurrected it for the film office because it's still 42 miles of beaches and the rest is history. We have a downtown core that was founded in 1565. So it's the oldest established European city in the continental United States. We keep a lot of that flavor in downtown so that many people, like your background there, if people can see that, is our Castillo downtown, which was built of coquina rock by the Spanish and later occupied by the Americans and the English as well. But we've had several groups here throughout history, starting with our native peoples, progressing through the Spanish, the French, of course, wanted this area too, the English, the Americans. Everybody wanted to be here, and we want you here too. So we're quite an old city. We've retained a lot of the flavor. We look a lot like many European cities do, which saves people a lot of money from going overseas because they can shoot here and look like they're somewhere else.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that. I mean, St. Augustine really has a very different look and feel from pretty much the rest of Florida. So using some of that historic background, how does that benefit you from a filming perspective?
Well, exactly as I alluded to just a minute ago, because for instance, if you have a script that calls for being in Europe, let's say, or Spain, or perhaps an exotic historic Caribbean island, perhaps, you don't have to go there. You don't have to spend the money to get out of the country. You can come to St. Augustine, save your money, have a great time with some beautiful backgrounds and scenery, and shoot right here.
And what are some of your favorite locations, that you like to refer people when they say, I want to go to St. Augustine or St. Johns County, but I want to be off the beaten path a little bit? What are some of the lesser known places?
Well, I'll get to that in just a second, but I have to tell you, this just occurred to me just the other day because my wife and I have lived downtown, literally downtown St. Augustine, a 5-minute walk from the historic district, for the past 25 years. We recently moved out a little bit, like 10 minutes, it's totally different. But every time I come over the Bridge of Lions, which is our historic, beautiful arched Bridge of Lions from the Anastasia Island into the downtown core, I am still literally stunned every time I come over that bridge and see the skyline of the city. I think it is just so beautiful. So that's what everybody sees. As far as things that people don't always see, um, there is a country road around here called State Road 13. It's a two-lane road, but it's got beautiful canopies for miles that you can shoot. It feels like so shaded and peaceful. It feels a little bit more deep south than you would associate with St. Augustine. You might be familiar with Magnolia Street as well, which is near the Fountain of Youth, which is a gorgeous canopied street too. That's really pretty. And of course, all of our little beaches, some of which even have rocks, which is a very rare thing on Florida beaches. Um, One time we even there was a film here that shot called The Celestine Prophecy. And that takes place in Peru. That's very mountainous. Well, it's really hard to get mountains in Florida. But what we did was, I'm not saying me, I did not come up with this idea. Um, but it was very clever. They went to a quarry and shot up. So it looked very, very high.
Uh-huh.
It was a depression in the earth, but we made it work.
Well, Marty, Film Florida was in St. Augustine in 2015 for our annual meeting. I enjoyed it thoroughly, had a great time, and I know we're looking forward to getting back there sometime soon. So thanks for joining us today and sharing a little bit about St. Johns County and St. Augustine.
Yeah, and thank you guys so much for the work that you do as a statewide organization promoting the state. We all love to work together and promote ourselves as a unit, but we sure love our little areas too. And I look forward to having you guys back here in St. Augustine.
We're looking forward to it too. Thanks, Marty.
My pleasure. Thanks.